In this episode of 90s and Noughties UK, Kendra, host of Crushgasm, joins me to talk crushes and pop culture. Then Jamie returns once more to play Celebrity Birthdays.
This is 90s and Noughties UK, a podcast on UK pop culture of the 90s and 2000s. If you want to contact the show, email 90esandnoughties@gmail.com, tweet us on @90esandnoughties UK on Twitter, or check us out on Facebook, 90s and Noughties UK.
I'm now joined by podcaster Kendra, who is speaking to us all the way from LA. Welcome to the podcast, Kendra. Tell me, what is your podcast?
It's Crushgasm. It's a podcast about different types of crushes we all have, from your first crush to maybe your middle school, or if you liked a Disney character. There's so many different types of crushes that we have throughout our lives, and each week a different guest comes on and they spill their guts about it.
For a start, it's a great name for a podcast, Crushgasm.
Thank you. There's only like one other thing named that, and it's like a metal song, because I Googled it, so I made sure I was like, no, we had it. And then, yeah, it's like a metal song and my podcast.
Well, as we say, it's a great name. I mean, do people get shy about talking about their crushes?
Oh, for sure. I think it's like mixed with they're being recorded and they are talking about their feelings. Because I had one guest and he talked about his middle school crush, which was an anime character. And even then he was like, you know, we got deep into it because he's a Black cosplayer and we got into race and everything. And he's like, wow, we really went deep here. So I tell my guests, you know, I get you here with the crushes, but I'm going to Dr. Phil you. We're going to talk about a lot of different things in that, because crushes, I think they represent so many different types of things, and between like your sexuality or what you went to like when you're older. So we kind of get into a lot of different things, not just like, why do you think this person was cute? You know, I try to dig deeper.
And is that something that you developed over time, or did it just come just like that?
Well, I've been a blogger for over 10 years. I've been interviewing mostly musicians just via email. But, you know, I grew up watching like Total Request Live on MTV. So Carson Daly was kind of my first muse of like asking questions. And I also look up to Sean from Hot Ones. I think his team and him do really good research. So that's kind of where I draw my inspiration to really dig deep for my interview questions and get in there.
Yeah. Another aspect of it is you have people on to talk about their celebrity crushes. Which it must be quite a variety of different things.
Oh, yeah. You just, I have a list. I call them crushagories. And you kind of go through and it's like, I tell people, hey, you know, which ones would you feel comfortable talking about? Is it your YouTuber crush of somebody from hip hop, TV, high school, whoever, you know? I have about 60 different categories they choose from, and you never know what they're going to come back with. Because when I say like elementary school, I don't mean like, oh, that kid you thought was cute. It could also mean like a Power Ranger, you know, like a TV character. So it's like always interesting to see who they come back with. And a lot of times it has, you know, a few of them have just been anime characters, which I think is really interesting. Maybe it speaks to millennials being really into anime. I don't know. But yeah. A lot of celebrities as well have come up. I have an interview today, a pop singer whose their crush is Madonna. So I'll be glad to talk about that.
And I'm sure if you did more episodes, you know, much more, that Madonna would come up quite a lot.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a lot of variety. That's why I send him the crushagories. I am really like type A in that regard, where I'm like, no, we can't have like it repeat so often. You know, I don't want everyone to talk about, like, if I gave them the choice, I think a lot of people my age would talk about Disney characters. And like Backstreet Boys or stuff like that. So I'm trying to like spread it out so we kind of get a lot of a variety in that regard.
Now, obviously, I'm not the host of a Crush podcast, and I don't want to step on your toes, but I thought what we could do here was almost like a mini demo of what you would do, but I'd like you to reverse it on me. So if you've got any categories there that you'd like to give me, I will see what I can come up with.
Like crush categories. Okay. I'll just like run down I'll give you some of the bigger ones we do, like your animated crush. So this is anyone that is 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional.
Oh, that's a tricky one. I mean, can we go Leela from Futurama, perhaps?
Yeah, that's totally.
Yeah, sure.
I say, did somebody draw them? Then they're animated crush.
Mm-hmm.
And why Leela? I mean, she has one eye. That's kind of like, that would take me out of it.
I know, but in the context of that world, that's not unusual, is it?
That's very true. And is it more like, she's Peggy Bundy as well? I think that's a lot of reason as well.
I don't know, because Married with Children was shown here, but I never saw it. I never saw it. I did see the other show she was in, 8 Simple Rules.
That's odd, but okay.
She was in that show. Well, I mean, this is the other thing as well. Have you had any guests from the UK on your podcast?
And she in the UK, in Ireland, but American. So.
Cool. Yeah.
I was gonna say you have a whole different 90s aughts experience than a lot of Americans. Even though you guys get a lot of our pop culture imported.
We do. So if I was to ask you that same question, what would you say?
My animated crush?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Disney's Robin Hood all day, the fox. Like
brilliant.
Him, I don't know why. Him and like Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks. Like I was really into just like animal boys when I was little. And like Chippendale. So I would say like rodents were my thing in the 90s. How about, do you have like a Star Wars crush?
A Star Wars crush. I mean, I can't say I was really that into Star Wars personally.
All right.
I was for about 5 minutes, but not not entirely. I think Phantom Menace kind of killed it for me.
Okay. My mom was really into them in the 70s. She had my older brother at like 15. So she's like still kind of a kid and they would really get into them. So when the new ones came out in 99 and stuff, she was like, well, now you guys have to go. And she kind of forced Star Wars on me and my little brother. Yeah, I liked them. My husband's a huge fan. I'd say Hayden Christensen, who becomes Darth Vader, just because like he's hot. It's not so much the character. It's like he's just hot. He's like a aughts crush. He kind of didn't make it out of there.
That's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because you can find somebody attractive or interesting, but you might not like the character that they play. Mm-hmm. Or the other way around.
Yeah, like, I mean, he's Darth Vader. He's going to eventually be a horrible person, but God, he's gorgeous. Can't deny that. Do you have... Do you like Marvel at all?
No.
You're just like no geeks.
I realize I'm geeky in a different way, but I realize that sounds bad. I don't mind a little bit, but yeah, I'm not too big on the old Marvel universe. It's so expansive.
It's crazy. And if you ever like watch the videos where they'll break down everything, you're like, how do you know that much? It just blows my mind. I'm like amazed by it. I'm like I'll watch it, but I'm not going to know the folklore of it. And I don't remember every little thing. How many more crushes would you like to talk about? I have like 60.
I mean, we can do one more.
All right. Well, we'll go with your 90s crush since you talk about 90s stuff.
90s crush. Well, I have a couple in mind, but we'll go with the first one because I kind of have a story. And if you ever need a guest, I'm more than welcome to come on and talk about this. But you might have to look up the guest, the person, because there was a gardening show here called Ground Force. Right? It was this reality TV show where a bunch of skilled gardeners go to a place and do up somebody's garden. Basically, there was a lot of trellis, a lot of decking, and a lot of water features, all very unnecessary. And they had three main presenters. One of them was Tommy Walsh. One of them was a guy called Alan Titchmarsh, and they also had a lady called Charlie Dimmock. And I was very young, it's probably about 7 or 8, and I guess that's kind of like the earliest crush that I remember.
Charlie.
Dimmock. And she is a gardener. She does a lot of things. And the thing is, I actually met her.
Oh.
Around 2004. I was, 14, 15 years old. And I think I'm past that by this point, right? It's just like, it's Charlie Dimmock. I liked Ground Force. It was fun. But you look at the photos of me with Charlie Dimmock, it's like, this is actually happening. This is brilliant. And I remember there was one in particular where I'm sort of like, I guess I'm shy, but it's like that look of, oh my God, I can't believe that it's you sort of thing. But she was having photos taken with several different people. And then I think it was my turn to stop, but I just couldn't move. And so I'm in lots of photos with other people and Charlie Dimmock, which is really weird because I couldn't move. And she was just like, okay, fine. Maybe one other, but yeah,
I think that's the thing though. Like those kind of crushes you develop very early. Even when you get older and you get past it, you really mentally in the back of your head aren't past it. Cause there's people I could see today. Like if I saw JTT, like Jonathan Taylor Thomas, voice of young Simba, I would lose my shit. Like he's like probably 4 feet tall, totally not my type today, but there's something about what he represented in my childhood. And I feel you on that. It's just like, him or Devin Sawa, anybody from like a Tiger Beat in like 1995, I'd be like, ah!
Now what is that?
Tiger Beat?
Yes.
Tiger Beat is a wonderful publication in the U.S. I think it started probably the 70s because that's when a lot of pop culture, kind of poppy music was starting up with like Leif Garrett and Jackson 5 and everything. But it basically is just sold to teens and tweens. It's mostly girls. It has beautiful glossy photos of whatever the biggest pop stars of the day are. So today it'd probably be like Billie Eilish. I guess that's what the kids are into now. But back in my day, it was like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, like I said, JTT, Devin Sawa. And they just like give you a lot of cool like 8x10s. But also in the middle is the big centerfolds, and they're bigger posters you can hang up. And it just has like the stupidest little articles about these like teen idols that probably weren't even like legit. They were probably just making up, but it's like, what is their favorite color and like everything. And you learn all, like today I could tell you like all the Backstreet Boys, like favorite colors and foods and everything, but they're probably like $4. And I would buy, because there's not just Tiger Beat, there's a lot of different variations like Bop, BB, Teen Beat and everything. And I would buy, my dad would give me like $20 every week. And I would spend I would have to buy at least 4 or 5, however many I could fit in. My room was covered in Tiger Beat and all those pictures. But yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Is that still in publication or is it gone?
I believe I'll see it at the store. I'll see like BTS on the cover, or like I said, Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo, stuff like the new High School Musical cast. And I'll look every now and then at the grocery store and kind of be like, and they also have cool quizzes like, what should you do this spring at the dance, or something stupid things like that. Whatever teens and tweens are into. It was like my dream when I was like 14 I was like, I'm going to grow up and write for them.
Yeah, we had a few magazines like that in this country. Top of the Pops magazine springs to mind.
Yes.
Smash Hits, all that kind of thing. I mean, you asked me about my 90s crush, and obviously I just said Charlie Dimmock. To kind of go with the theme of the podcast, the noughties one. You mentioned High School Musical there. I can't remember her name. Was it Vanessa Hudgens?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I was
Really?
about, 15, 16 when that movie came out. So,
I
yeah.
love, yeah. I was in college when it came out. I was a freshman and I was on winter break. And my friend from high school, he was a fan of Zac Efron from Summerland.
Mhm.
And he texted me, he was like, turn on the Disney Channel right now. You have to watch this movie. And I caught it like right at the beginning and I became obsessed. I was telling a recent guest how I was obviously not that cool in college because my dorm had High School Musical and Hannah Montana posters and I was not partying. I was like, I need to watch the new High School Musical. Yeah, Zac Efron is definitely my aughts crush for sure. He's gorgeous. Not so much now. He got a little too big for me, a little too buff, but Troy Bolton, I'll say, is my aughts crush.
Well, the thing about Zac Efron is I think he tried to get away from that initial image and he made he's a little bit like Robert Pattinson in that way, in that he makes something really what a certain generation would call teeny bopper movies, and then suddenly makes all these really like harshly credible, very independent, very this is off the wall kind of movies, and in trying to get away from that, I suppose themselves, they change, because when people are big stars when they're teenagers, of course they're going to be different when they're 30, 40, 50 years old.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't want to play like a basketball player for the rest of his life. It's not going to always hit the mark, but I hope that he can be sort of like Mark Paul Gosselaar, like Saved by the Bell, and always just have respect for where he came from, but definitely doesn't always have to go back. But as long as he doesn't like shade it, that's what I don't like when people do that. It's like, don't crap on where you came from, but I can respect your growth.
They're supposed to be bringing back Saved by the Bell, aren't they?
Oh, they did. They did. It's on Peacock. It's actually really good because they didn't go too serious with it. They kind of make fun of how cheesy the 90s version was. And I think they did a great job. It's one of those like sometimes the reboots, they don't work. But a lot of the 90s ones I've been impressed by. The Mighty Ducks one is really good. Check it out if you can. And the Babysitter's Club one, which I was very nervous.
Yeah, I have seen some quite decent revivals of those things. And then some of the actors, another 90s crush for me, Melissa Joan Hart, Sabrina, she seems to be in a lot of things where she's playing the same kind of character.
Is it all those Lifetime movies?
Well, yeah, I have seen a couple of those. And obviously she did Melissa and Joey, which was like a massive 90s throwback. And
I like that one.
I liked it at the beginning, but then they started. I think when you have a will they, won't they situation, once you actually get them together, it's like, what is the point of this now?
The will they, won't. Yeah, it's like a will they, won't they has to definitely be given time for it to work, and you have to build up to it. And you need that. Like Frasier, like his brother. Did you watch Frasier?
Yeah.
I actually thought that was a British show when I was little because he was so fancy. I thought they were British. And then I watched it I watched in the last few years and I was like, this guy is not British, but okay. Yeah, there will they, won't they went, I think several seasons before Daphne and Niles got together. So they did it well. I think The Office was probably perfect in doing it, even though you guys have your own office.
The original Office, if you don't mind.
Yes. Yeah. I think we have the better one. A little bias there.
I don't blame you. I haven't seen the American version. I haven't even seen the British one because Gervais, his comedy is very Marmite for a lot of people, and it sort of kicked around the same time as like Larry David and all that stuff kind of came onto the scene. It doesn't appeal to me personally. I will get to it sometime. It's so funny that you thought Frasier was a British show.
I thought he was British. I thought he was like a medical doctor or something because I would hear Dr. Crane. Yeah, I thought the dog was going to have way more play when I watched it because he was like everywhere in the 90s. Every time I saw the show on like TV Guide or something, there was the dog. Not an integral part, really. Just Eddie's kind of there. Yeah, who knew what that show was?
And yet it's a spin-off of another American show which went on into the 90s. Cheers. I mean, you guys have a lot more reruns, I think, than we do. It seems to be part of the culture. And this is the thing, right? I have a lot of messages from people on social media. Every time I mention something that's made before 1990, they're like, oh, but that's 1982 or that's 1975. And you think, but growing up, we saw reruns, right? You'd be home from school and they'd show something, or you'd see a summer rerun of an American series from 10, 20 years prior. And because it was all for free then, it was all like that, it was all boxed instead of the widescreen of today. So nothing looked old.
Yeah, I grew up, I Love Lucy. That's probably my favorite show growing up. Brady Bunch, things like that, Growing Pains. I know kind of went into the 90s, but I definitely caught it more so in like Leonardo DiCaprio was popping off because of Titanic. They started to rerun a lot of his episodes. So then I would go back and watch the previous ones, and I loved it. Things like that. I totally get it. Like, we grew up on 70s sitcoms because of Nick at Night in the States. I don't know if you guys had that over there.
No, it's not really a thing, but yeah.
In the summer, Nickelodeon was popping because at like 10 o'clock, they would start showing all the old shows from like the 70s and 80s. And I loved it in the summer because every night was a different block. So like Mary Tyler Moore would be Monday, Happy Days Tuesday. So I was like, yes. I was all into Nick at Night summer blocks.
Yeah, I feel like that wasn't a thing because a lot of the sitcoms that you mentioned weren't run over here. And I'm not even sure why, because I'm hugely into like vintagey things like 60s, 70s, 80s. And so I look up this stuff and it's like, why didn't this hit here? Why wasn't it shown even at 6 o'clock in the morning? I mean, now, for the last, it seems like 100 years, Channel 4, which is another broadcaster here in the UK, has been running reruns of Frasier for ever.
They even think it's British. See? Like, he's fancy.
They must own shares in it or something. It's on all the time in the morning. I think for as long as I can remember, it's been there. I mean, do you have that on the main channels? Because you guys have a lot more kind of like cable and satellite, and it's been part of your culture for longer.
I think so. I know a lot of syndication. Like, my nephew's 9 years old and he's really into Martin. It was a black sitcom over here because that's rerunning a lot, but I don't know on like our basic cable anymore. But like the music channels like MTV, VH1 are getting a lot of the syndicated 90s shows. So there's a new generation definitely like picking up on that. He also loves The Simpsons, but he loves the older ones, and also in syndication, Simpsons Will Never Die. So yeah, he's watching a lot of that right now.
Well, he's very wise. A lot of people say that The Simpsons kind of died around season 13.
I haven't watched. I have a Lisa Simpson tattoo, and I haven't watched it in maybe 10 years.
Why is that? What happened?
I stopped having cable, so I didn't really catch up on a lot of it. And yeah, like you said, it just kind of didn't appeal to me anymore. The storylines were kind of like, where can we go from here? I think the older, I think back to my favorite episodes, and it's weird that they are from so long ago, and I still remember them. And like, that's how the beauty of how great they were. Because I was like, 8 years old, and I still remember the freaking plots. And now I'm like, I don't even know what they're doing.
And yet it's so inappropriate. I mean, it was shown here at 6 p.m. in the evening on BBC Two. And I think they used to cut them because they thought it was a kid's show, I think. I think they thought it was a kid's show. They even showed it. I don't know whether... Do you guys have like Saturday morning TV where they have these long shows and things? They started showing it in the morning,
like a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah. Oh, and they realized pretty quickly it was a mistake.
But I like in the grand scheme, I don't think it's as bad as like my husband does a 90s centric podcast called Happened in the 90s.
Mhm.
And he watches different shows and we've been watching South Park. And I'm like watching these episodes and I'm thinking like, oh my God, my mom let me watch this. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like just watching the old episodes. So in like comparison to like The Simpsons, I don't think The Simpsons was all that bad. I think it's definitely more family friendly than what like came like Family Guy and South Park
Hmm.
for
Yeah,
sure.
I think so. And there was a mid-90s kind of spin-off from the same people called The Critic, if you've ever seen that.
Yes, I love that one.
And that really was going out there, wasn't it? I mean, they were like reinventing the whole thing. They say, "Oh, The Simpsons is this major like step forward in like adult animation," but The Critic took one step
Which
further.
somebody needs to put that on a streaming service. Every few months, I'm like, where is The Critic? I just want to watch The Critic and I can't find it.
Well,
Like,
Disney own it now, so maybe.
come on, Disney Plus. Come on. Yeah, you can kick off some Marvel show or a Marvel movie or something like that. One of them. Because do you have Disney Plus over there?
Yeah.
Can you? I hate how they have like all the Don Knotts stuff from like the 70s, like the Apple Dumpling Gang and stuff like that. Like that's not for me. And I'm like, why are we even putting this when we could be putting like so much more great things like that the Disney Channel had, like the Torkelsons and Flash Forward, stuff like that. But Apple Dumpling Gang, there it is. It makes me so upset.
I mean, on the thing, I said I was into vintage. I mean, my wife and I watched those movies, and we're just like, we used to watch this sort of thing all the time as a kid, so it's nostalgic.
See, you're giving them the views of the Apple Dumpling Gang, and they're never going to get rid of it. The only Don Knotts fans on Disney Plus.
I realize, and I say this a lot, but I mean it in this instance. Not that I don't mean it any other time, but this time particularly. We could talk about this subject, bounce around for hours, I'm sure, and just give another plug to your podcast, Crushgasm.
Well, Crushgasm, you can find it on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel where you can listen, or you can find it on Spotify, Anchor. It's everywhere. Or you can go to crushgasm.wordpress.com and find all the links. And I also do every week with every crush, I do 2 blog posts. I talk about my crush for that week that is in that crush-agory. And I also do a top 10 based around that category. So, yeah, like we're doing Degrassi crushes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be counting down my top 10 Degrassi crushes for that, or 90s, whatever we talk about. I do a top 10 because, like I said, I grew up with TRL and I'm obsessed with counting things down.
Well, it's something to do, isn't it? I mean, it's so enjoyable doing this podcasting stuff. It's fun, especially when you tie in something written like that as well.
Mm-hmm. I am a blogger first, so definitely the written word is where I'm most comfortable with. This is the first time a lot of the guests or people I have interviewed from the past and they're like, oh, this is the first time I'm actually hearing you. So it's kind of cool in that regard.
Yes, I did hear that on an episode. That's very funny.
Yeah.
That's very funny. Well, Kendra, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
And now it's time for the Celebrity Birthdays feature, where we try and guess a 90s or noughties celebrity who is celebrating their birthday in the week of broadcast. And I'm joined by podcaster Jamie. Welcome. Tell me about your podcast.
Thank you for having me. So I'm from the Commentary Booth podcast. We're a weekly entertainment recap and review show. So on that show, I'm the main host, and then I have 4 or 5 friends that rotate in and out each week, and we just come in with 2 or 3 shows or movies that we've watched during the week and recap them, give a little quick review, and just try and find the hidden gems that people might have missed during the week. So it helps having the cast of 5 of us all coming together and be like, each of us has different sort of preferences and things, so we have a nice mixture of topics that come up.
Well, that sounds really interesting, and I guess each co-host kind of has their strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah, so we've got Buddy, who loves all of his sport documentaries and war type movies. Then we have Leah, who is a massive true crime podcast fan. So she's always finding new podcasts that I've never heard of or true crime documentaries on Netflix. Then we have Jackson, who, like myself, loves all the Marvel movies and sort of the nerd culture things. And Blake is just a huge movie buff, so he'll find random movies that have been on Netflix for a long time or have just popped on. So we get a nice mixture of things. And then, along with that, I have a magazine that I've just put out called Pario Magazine, and it's just, I get celebrities to come in, do interviews and just speak about their journey through creativity. So we've got a few interesting avenues of stuff that you can find on our website.
Well, that's excellent. What's the website?
It is pariomagazine.com.au.
Excellent. Well, we have an idea there as to your wheelhouse of knowledge, and we'll see if that can transfer over to the game. So without further ado, let's start the questioning.
Awesome. I feel like I've probably set myself up for massive failure here, so let's see how we go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I got to start, don't I? That would help. Is this person a male?
Yes.
Is this person Australian?
No.
Okay. Are they an actor?
They have done acting, yes. They are known for many things.
Ooh, one of those celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is this person American?
No.
Ooh. Is this person British?
Yes, they are British, yeah. But to help you, they are very well known in America as well as Britain. And possibly in your part of the world as well.
Oh, okay. This could be difficult now. Male, British, seemingly all-rounder. Does this person have red hair?
No, they don't.
Okay, there goes that idea.
Yeah, I'll help you out a little bit more. I'll give you a little bit more clue as to their career history. They kind of got launched on a late night Channel 4 show in the UK, but you probably wouldn't know that. You might know of their big comedy series they had in the early 2000s, which transferred over to an American version quite recently.
Oh, okay.
And in order to help even further, they've also done stand-up comedy. They've done a lot of writing, producing, directing. And in recent years, they have a show on Netflix.
Okay, so I have an idea now, but was the American version of this show, did it star Steve Carell?
Yes.
Okay. Is this person Ricky Gervais?
Yes, it is. You got it.
Brilliant.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, see, I was thinking singer and not comedian, so that was where I was going to get buggered up.
Yeah, who were you thinking of?
Ed Sheeran.
You were thinking of Ed Sheeran. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just because he has recently started to do the acting bits and pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's good. No, that was fairly quick. That was fairly quick. I mean, did you find it difficult to come up with questions?
A little bit, but yeah, we'll get there eventually.
Excellent. Well, on this edition of Celebrity Birthdays, I'd like to say thank you very much, Jamie, for joining us. And well done.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of this podcast. I'd like to thank everyone who contributed to it and you for listening. If you'd like some extra content, please go and check out the 90s and Noughties YouTube channel, where you'll find taste tests and other 90s and 2000s related content. You can also come and join the live stream at twitch.tv/90esnnnoughties UK, and that happens every Monday at 10:30 p.m. UK time. So from me, Jamie Dyer, thank you very much for listening, and bye-bye for now.
Thank you for listening to 90s and Noughties UK, a podcast on UK pop culture of the 90s and 2000s. Please remember to rate, comment and subscribe on your favourite podcast provider. If you want to contact the show, email 90esandnoughties@gmail.com, tweet us on @90esandnoughties UK on Twitter, or check us out on Facebook, 90s and Noughties UK.